Welcome back to From an Educator. It has been a very long time since I last posted. I think it's been over a month. And I have my reasons for that. I'm going to basically divulge those in this episode. And I call this episode Recovery. If you're a teacher right now and you're on break, then you're recovering from what has been a complicated school year. And if you're not a teacher, you can learn about what we're going through as teachers. All right, see you soon. Welcome back to From an Educator. I'm Mr. James, an educator. And this is show number 80 of From an Educator. It's called Recovery. So I'm a little rusty from not having done this in a while. It's been over a month. I actually think the last time I did this was on the 25th of November. At least that's when I posted last. So yeah, what has been going on in my life? A lot of different things, a lot of different changes for me, as well as, I guess, recovery from quite a year so far for school. And I'm going to go into detail with that as well. I've been getting into a lot of different subjects, a lot of reading, just constantly reading. In fact, if I'm doing this right now, I'm not reading, and I kind of feel like guilty that I'm not reading. I have a pile of books. I've got books coming in all the time from the mail and the library, and I'm just figuring out, when do I start reading this, and how many things can I read at the same time and back to back. And yeah, I've got my own agenda that I have to keep up with. And I'm currently on a December break. A lot of teachers are. And I thought it'd be great to do an episode before I meet up with Mr. Ritchie of the podcast we normally do, called We Are the Educators, to just talk about recovery in general, because this is basically what educators are doing right now. And yeah, for me, it's not just recovery from school year, which has been going, there's ups and downs, and just dealing with the blows we have to take each day with changing guidelines for things and that. But the things that we have to do, and I had to do, besides what I've been doing at school, which are, I've taken a graduate class that finally finished, took forever. And it was something where I could delve more into what I've been doing for years. And I think that was great. It helped me a little bit with condensing notes and such, but at the same time, it was, extra time I had to spend, and I had to make some sacrifices to do the class, and it's not going to really add up to much, because I'm not going to get another degree out of it. And that doesn't mean more money. And yeah, even though I'm not always about money these days, if I do want to spend my time doing something that is not reading and not making myself better specifically, then it's got to equal some sort of financial, outcome. So this is just another class I took from a whim, and it's not going to happen again, basically, at least anytime soon, unless someone's willing to pay for it and a lot of money comes out of it, because I have been busy like everybody. So let's first start today with something we haven't done in a long time. COVID-19 in Maine. So a lot of things have been happening in Maine. COVID-19 has been happening everywhere. The United States, Europe, Asia, everywhere. It's a mess. The average daily rate has been 1,000 new cases each day. And it's generally, I've seen numbers above that, like 1,400. I think the other day there was 1,230 new cases. One day was over 2,000. I was thinking it was like 2,400 new cases. So it's ravaging the state. I mean, honestly, we've been wondering as educators all year when we were going to be going remote, because seeing these numbers, we're like, why are we at school? We'd have classes that would come in and it'd be half the amount of students, or maybe 4 students. And we kept going to school. And it just got to a point where, like, what are they doing? Are the powers that be playing with our lives? What's going on? Because there's so many people that are getting infected, and we're just seeing these numbers where 100 people being infected in the state. When COVID-19 first was, talked about, that would everyone went remote. We're like, oh, shut down the state. Now it's like, let's let it more than 1,000 people, whatever. It's just like trying to ride this wave out like it's going to stop. And I don't think it's going to stop. A lot of people are estimating that in the middle of January, we're going to have the largest spike, and then it's going to finally settle down. But this new variant, Omicron, however you want to say it, is here. And yet, places I go all the time, masks stay off. People are tired of wearing masks. They're tired of dealing with this. And I'm not placing blame on anyone particular, but we have to keep masks on. I think we have to, be vaccinated, or just be really diligent to not get sick ourselves and to not spread it to others if we have to be in contact with others, because you can get this thing multiple times. I don't know. It feels like I'm just talking over and over again. Later on this slide, I mentioned broken record. Like, it sounds like a broken record that I keep hearing over and over again, the same things, the same guidelines, and people just don't want to listen. And it's too bad. And my main big thing out of this as an educator is, what is this doing to students? How are students dealing with all of this? I mean, of course, I can ask them in class. I don't have a lot of time, seeing that I teach another subject that's not, science based upon viruses and such. But I think it's doing something to students that is something they can't put words to. I think it's kind of making them more needy for socialized, situations, and desperate. And so this is why we had one day we had off recently from school. And this was not a snow day. This was not anything to do with COVID-19. It was to do with TikTok. It was to do with the fact that someone made a threat or some challenge, and had to do with, something about violence at schools. And it shut down many schools in this state, and I guess in other states as well. And it's pretty bad that it has to get to that point for schools to shut down and go remote when this virus, which can kill people, is not doing anything, supposedly, to curb anyone's idea about that. So I don't know. There's so many people that are pushing against it and pushing for it. Same thing with the vaccine arguments and such. So it's just one of those things where it's not even worth entering into an argument with anyone anymore, because people are going to do what they want to do. Let people do what they want to do. Just stay out of my way, right? That's how we have to be, unfortunately. I wish it wasn't like that. Still wondering what this virus is going to do to affect education. And later this week, I'm hoping to talk with Mr. Ritchie about this subject, and we can go into detail what we think is going to happen for this. And I think it's time, and I saw an article this week that we should probably consider COVID-19 endemic, which means it's going to happen just like colds and the flu happen every single year. It's here to stay. Just you have to get a vaccine every year to build your immunity and, take precautions as always. Does that mean that people are going to wear masks for the rest of their lives? Doesn't have to mean that. If I'm in a public place surrounded by a lot of people, I definitely will not hesitate to have a mask on. And, before this huge spread of this virus, it seemed awkward when I used to see when the SARS virus came out in I guess in China, and people were wearing masks. It seemed weird, but now it doesn't seem so weird. I don't mind having a mask on. It keeps my face warm, makes me look like a ninja. I mean, I like it. It kind of makes me kind of blend in. You don't know who I am. And I like that. As an introvert, I really like that. Now, there is a different world we have now. We could talk about this, and we've done this for what, years, for over a year on this podcast. But it's a different world we live in now, and I think we have to start treating it as a different world instead of trying to get it back to the way we think things once were, because it wasn't good then. People throwing caution to the wind is not good. People not paying attention to things they should be paying attention to, that's not good. We have a different world. We should treat it like a different world. We should treat it like it's a world of survival. We should treat it like a world where things that are simple and very human should be treasured. And we should put effort into that. And just simple little things that we took advantage of before, we should just put more effort into, and just put more caring into that, and not going to, well, we need to get back to where it was before, where we were carefree. And what? You're looking for the next party? There is no more parties, right? Everything has a consequence. And maybe the consequences now are going to be a little bit more, extreme, and we have to deal with that. And for those that want to go back to the way things weren't that good, and you were not as intelligent back then. You don't want to go backwards. You want to be more intelligent. You want to go forwards. You want to find out how we need to adapt. And that's basically how life works. And maybe this is helping everyone to realize that, or at least for those that are open-minded enough to realize that's how we have to be. But I mean, I don't want to get onto a soapbox about this, even though I'm literally looking at a camera with microphones in my face on a podcast right now, on a soapbox, I guess. But I want people to be able to make their own decisions and take care of themselves, but realize that this is the way things are going to be. I don't think things are going to go away. And I'm more worried about what else might pop up while we're looking at this one thing. And that's been my concern for a long time now. I did hear with this new Omicron, keeps reminding me of a video game I played a long time ago, where it was Omicron, which was a game called The Nomad Soul. Pretty awesome game from like 1995, 96. It had David Bowie in it. He was a major part of that. Not only did he sing, but he was different characters in the game. It was amazing. He helped design some of the costumes and stuff for the characters. It's awesome. But they mentioned that you need a better mask for this variant. So I'm looking at my mask. I'm thinking of having a double mask, although later this week, possibly, Mr. Ritchie and I will go over something else that will be a surprise. So I don't want to sound like a broken record for those listening and hearing about the same thing that everybody else can talk about with this. It's just the fact that it's about adapting, it's about surviving, and we need to be like that. And COVID-19 is everywhere. And the fact that it's in Maine, a state where other states think of us as living in the woods, we're basically what? Lobster trees. We have nothing to do with science. We have nothing to do with, critical thinking, all of this stuff, even though there's humans here and humans have brains. I just, this is what I got from living in another state at one point. Didn't think we had indoor plumbing. That was pretty interesting. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but please take care of yourselves. Wherever you are, take care of yourself. Make sure that you can get by and get through this. And I mean that for every single day. So, the main theme of today's podcast, today's show, is recovery. And this is not recovery from an addiction. This is recovery as a teacher from this school year so far. Now, I read blogs that teachers write. There's one teacher in particular writes a blog called Organized Chaos. It's a music teacher. and she has a lot of great ideas, and I've used her ideas throughout the years, and it's just one of the things where no one wanted to help me and I didn't know where to go. I found this blog, and this basically just helped inform several units and several different things I've done. And she wrote about this past week about self-care and recovering from the school year, and the fact that she's got to a point where she just has no more energy and she just wants to go home at some points and just not think about things and just hear silence, or not hear, I guess, silence, or watch TV and not think, and just things like that. What are we doing to self-soothe? I guess that would be. But it's recovery, because this year has been a mess. We don't know if we're going remote anytime. We don't know where students are. They don't have technology. We have this TikTok thing going on. We have all of this stuff going on that it just, administrators say this, other teachers say that. It's on the news. This is being, it's on social media. There's going to be snow days, and like, what is going, there's so many different things going on. And then, of course, at the same time, in our district, we have a lot of things to learn that they want us to learn, a lot of professional development that seems to be ill-placed, especially in a year when we're trying to recover what we've lost from last year, even though I thought last year, with the cohorts went very well. But December break, and I think it's always been this way for teachers, means recovery for teachers, recovering from what you've done so far, what has worked, what has not worked. It means rebuilding your teaching skills, rebuilding what you've done and what you need to improve upon. It means answering questions that you've asked during the year. And it might not be being answered by someone else. You might have to just answer them yourselves. Answer yourself what you've been asking when you didn't have answers. And why did this happen? Why do I have to do this? Why is that? And for some, it might mean they're going to be finding another career choice. A lot of teachers are leaving right now because they just don't want to deal with this. And it's because students not only are unhinged, but they're disengaged and they're not being empowered. That's a kind of a big thing that I'm getting a lot. I mean, honestly, to tell you the truth, one of the books I'm reading now, I told you there's so many different books I'm reading right now, but one of them is called The Innovator's Mindset. And it is about empowering people. And it's about getting students, getting teachers, getting everybody who works as a teacher or as a learner to be empowered and to keep learning and to find ways to do this without putting constraints and doing these power struggles that seem to be, what school ends up being throughout the day, especially if you see a lot of different classes with a lot of different personalities in those classes. So I'm answering some of my questions by reading this book, and I'm going to be passing this on to a few other people. That's why I'm trying to get that done in time, because I have a lot of other things to get into, is like spooky tricks from 1968. Thank you, David Parr, for that idea. So teachers are burnt out. A lot of teachers are burnt out right now because they've been just trying to keep up with things, and it's been rough on many fronts, trying to keep up with their own lives, if they have children or their family, and just trying to survive through this. Students are burnt out. They're doing the same thing, and they're going to school trying to get back to the schedule the way things were, and it just doesn't feel right. And it's not like anything around them has changed. The environment outside of school is the same hectic mess that it was, but in school, it's masks on. The certain rules about where we eat and staying apart and don't touch this person. And yeah, even though some of the things in school seem like it was before, but kids just seemed unhinged to me. Many students seem unhinged, and a few are engaged, I've found a way to engage students in doing some amazing things that I've come up with. But it takes a lot out of me to do that. And I really want students to become more empowered. I want to be learning alongside them. And I think fewer are being empowered. I guess we have to place so many restraints on everybody for following a certain protocol and doing certain testing and all this stuff that everyone needed to do last year that we couldn't. And now we're trying to do it, try to fit it all in for no reason, because it's not really helping anybody. It's making everybody upset. It's burning out teachers. Students are being burnt out. Parents are upset. And yet someone is making everyone follow the rules or whatever rules are set. Or maybe it's just many people, or maybe there are some things put in place that everyone is blindly following because they think that's the way we have to do things, even though we don't really have to. It's like following rules that were written a long time ago that no one knows why they're following them, but we're just following them because it's tradition. I mean, that's what a lot of people are telling me they feel like right now. I am working very well within whatever constraints I have. I just really want to empower students, and I just wish I had more than 40 minutes once a week with classes. And it's unfortunate because I have to see so many classes and so many students that it's just, I'm like a record constantly replaying certain things, trying to get better at it. And once I get really, really good at it, it changes. I have to go to another whole lesson plan, another whole unit, another whatever. And this week, I'm trying to gather up what that next big thing is going to be. Part of that is learning some magic effects that I can use for the next few months that are going to be kind of spooky and interesting, at least. But the biggest thing I've been working on is self-care over self-soothing habits. So I must admit, I have had a few self-soothing moments the past month or so, where there's certain things that I thought I wanted. I was like, I need to have this, so I'm going to start doing this. One of them is drinking espresso again. Now, I haven't had espresso in like 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. I haven't had coffee in like 8 or 10 years. Maybe it's a little bit less than that. Maybe I'm over exaggerating, but it's been a long time. My stomach used to hurt a lot when I had that. And, then I became gluten-free, and, it was the coffee I got rid of, and then eventually the gluten. And then I started getting rid of certain meats and certain things. And, I never drank alcohol that much, but it was one of those things where if I had something a little bit, 2 days in a row was a big deal. So I got rid of a lot of things, and I got to a point drinking coffee where I was drinking, espresso, a very type of espresso that I really liked. And I got myself a machine and everything, and I wanted to, do the whole barista thing. And, I just had to stop doing it. And it just hurt my stomach, and I didn't know how to mitigate that. And I tried different ways, but I said, I just got to cut it out completely. So it went into storage. Well, a few weeks ago, I pulled it out. I got some special decaf espresso because I don't need caffeine. And with a Swiss water process, which is one of the ways you can decaffeinate coffee beans. There's kind of 3 ways. It's the chemical way. They strip off the caffeine. It's kind of the way that most people don't want, but it's the cheapest way, I guess. There's a Swiss water process, which is a little more expensive. And then there's a carbon dioxide way. But everyone talks about the Swiss water process being amazing. So I got some amazing espresso for that. And I got a little grinder, and I dusted off the machine, cleaned it up, and I'm starting to have, every other day, a 3 or 4 o'clock espresso, and it's great. And I'm having it with something that I think will help with my stomach, and things have been going well. I kind of feel like it's like that flavor again, but it is a self-soothing sort of thing. I mean, I bit of self-care, but do I really need to add that in? Probably not. Am I still exercising for self-care? Yes. Waking up early still. Am I reading as much as I possibly can? Yes. Am I taking notes? Am I surrounded by notes here that you can't see off camera? Yes. Now, there shouldn't be resolutions that we have to make this year. So this is one of the things I'm reading on the slide right now. People talk about January resolutions. I say there's no resolutions. I say we just have to adapt to battle. And the battle is the battle you face every single day, being who you are. Whether it's someone who has to work a job that you do not like, whether it's you just have to do something that is an obligation and you don't see what it's going to become or the results of it anytime soon. We have to adapt and we have to be able to do this. Because one of the big things that I'm finding when I want to read is that life goes on and you have to keep moving with it and you have obligations to do and you just have to kind of roll with the punches and get through things. And then those tiny little spaces you have where you don't actually, you're not needed by somebody or you have time to just reflect, that's when you get those little things done that you want to get done. Get good at doing a lot of things in a tiny amount of space. Pretty good at that since my job requires me to be like that way. But I have to remind myself when I'm on break and I have a schedule like that, that I should keep doing that. So the last little thing that I want to mention here is for recovery of anything, of just anything, even if we were thinking recovery meant drugs or something else that you're recovering from, or like an injury of some sort. The way you see things, you need other ways to see things. You need to have another way and in multiple ways. So I'm reading a lot of things right now. I'm getting into a lot of things right now that I never would have gotten to before. And it would go against what I just thought about. And I'd be like, why would someone waste their time? And I'm looking into it because I need more options and other ideas. And if someone spent a long time writing a book and, it has to go through a process, they're worthy of my attention. So I'm putting some effort into things right now that I would never have read in the past, but I'm doing it because I want other ways of looking at my situation, other ways of looking at how my life is being led and how I can be better at it. So your way needs more ways. And that could just be not just how you think, but your way of how you do something, assess how you're doing everything. Maybe that's the best thing to do at the end of the year is to look at how you've been doing things. And is there a better way? Like, for instance, the way I'm talking right now, this camera, these microphones, I have another way to do this now. And I want to do that. But I thought I'd put out an episode talking about this maybe as one of the last times I do this so that I can kind of reassess if this is working for me. Do I have any listeners? Do I have any watchers on the YouTube channel? Well, as far as watchers are concerned, it's been 0 for the past 2 episodes. So probably have no one watching this. Listeners, I'm hoping I have a few listeners out there. I'm hoping I'm helping in some way, but I don't know. And I was thinking about possibly ending this, although it is a great place to use as sort of like I wouldn't say diary, but I would say a log of what's going on in my life at the moment. And it's going to be out there and anyone can check up on it. And even I can and wonder what I've been going through. But I need another way to do this. And I'm going to be looking at that and possibly doing something that's going to be a little bit more off the cuff, no slides, and probably very succinct, and maybe more episodes during the week if I can make them shorter. I also thought of having another podcast that is separate from this that has no video element to it. And it might even be about what I talked about last episode 1 month ago, magic, as I hold up a coin and try to roll it in my fingers. But I have some different ideas on things now, and it's one of these things where if I have an interest, I need to follow it. And, maybe you want to join me on this journey, maybe you don't. As far as everything is concerned with this channel, it is still going to be about critical thinking, science, things happening in Maine. Still have another co-host, and he will hopefully join me soon. We have a lot to talk about. And we still are educators, and we still are driven by teaching. We still think like teachers. We still want to help others, and we want to help ourselves. And if we learn, we can help others learn. We're still going to fight. So even though we're recovering right now, we're still going to fight for everything to be better in this world. Well, thank you for joining me to show number 80 of From an Educator. I would say like this episode and subscribe, like I do say on another channel, another thing that I do every week for students, but I don't know if I have any listeners or watchers, possibly. So if you like what I mentioned, if it rings true, just share the information, which is good. If you want to know what teachers are going through right now, a lot of us are recovering. We need to find ourselves in this mess, and we need to take care of ourselves. And hopefully we find better ways to empower our students when we come back in January. I know I have a lot of different plans. I need to start writing some of them down. I wish I could write and read at the same time and comprehend everything that's going on, but it's just not as easy as it would seem it to be. At the same time, I do have to practice music for a show that I'm in, and possibly another show that I might be directing. Who knows? So I've got gigs and trying to, we'll see if they last. I don't know if anything's going to be shut down or not. So I guess the world is going on, and I got to get myself ramped up again. And so I guess this week is going to be, this is the beginning of the big part of my week off, and I just got to ramp myself up to get going and doing things. And this episode is part of that. So please take care of yourselves and keep learning.